Evolutionary perspective in community studies. Several theories would explain changes and phenomena that happens in our society, one of which is an evolutionary perspective. Sociocultural evolution explains how cultures and societies have changed over time. According to Clover 2008, sociocultural evolution started about 10,000 years ago, when early hunter-gatherer societies began to change their simple forms of segmentary social differentiation during the Neolithic Revolution. He emphasizes that this differentiation rival societies are homogeneous, with little differentiation of social roles. Thus, he indicates that if a society is too homogeneous, sociocultural evolution will stop sooner or later. Therefore, a society must have a certain degree of heterogeneity for sociocultural evolution to continue. Now let us talk about society's evolution according to the perspective of sociological evolutionary thinkers. Charles Darwin's idea about biological evolution, particularly in his work on the origin of species by natural selections, paved the way for sociologists in the 19th century to view society from an evolutionary perspective. Hence, the present social evolutionary perspective has similarities to the neo-Darwinian perspective. Evolutionary theory assumes that societies progress from simple to complex, and changes brought by this evolution enables society's improvement. Hence, from an evolutionary perspective, change is a naturally occurring phenomenon and a precursor or catalyst for society's progression and development. And cultural evolution comparisons, the process of variation, inheritance, selection, migration, and drift has almost similarities according to the compilation of Misaudi 2017. On the other hand, Herbert Spencer in his paper Social Organism published in 1860 emphasized similarities between animal organisms and societies. In both had three main systems. Regulative system, in which central nervous system regulates the body of organisms. In society, it's the government which make laws to regulate the action of people. Sustaining system, it's the digestive system which receives and digests food to extract nutrients for the nourishment of the body. Like in society, it represents the industry, jobs, money, and economy that sustains the personal and material needs of people. Last is the distribution system. In organism, it was the veins and arteries that serves as carrier of blood to and from different organs of the body. While in society, it represents the roads and transportation that facilitates and transfer and exchange goods and people from one place to another. According to Herbert Spencer, societies and organisms are analogous because both entities increase in size and are subject to structural and functional differentiation. Both are characterized by an increasing division of labor, and both are mutually dependent. Sociologists observed two types of evolutionary theory, the unilinear evolutionary theory and multilinear evolutionary theory. From the perspective of unilinear evolutionary theory, societies have the same sequence of stages of evolution and reach the same destiny. Theories like Auguste Comte and Herbert Spencer followed and supported the concept of this theory. Auguste Comte assumes that societies evolve and develop due to scientific developments. He views society as something which develops from simple to complex and from chaos to order. Comte's societies must undergo stages like conquest, defense, and industry. Another sociologist, Herbert Spencer, stresses that societies are destined to change. He applied the theory of evolution by Charles Darwin to explain sociological issues in society. In the writing of Turner et al., they emphasize that Spencer described evolution as the process of increasing differentiation of human populations as they grow in size. For Spencer, several factors always influence the movement from small and homogeneous to large and complex social forms in society. This is nature of the people involved, effects of environmental conditions, derived factors involving the new environments created by the evolution of society. He further stated that the larger and more complex societies become, the more their culture and structures shape the environment to which people and groups must adapt. Of particular importance are the effects of size and density of population and societies' relation with their neighbors. He emphasized as the population size and density increase, it becomes more structurally differentiated, with the result that individuals live and adapt to highly diverse social and cultural environments. Likewise, as societies get larger, they begin to contact their neighbor, and this contact can range from cordial relations of economic exchange to warfare and conquest. As you will see, these two derived factors are related in Spencer's scheme because the nature of internal differentiation of population is very much influenced by the degree to which it is engaged in war and its neighbor.
Social evolution today, according to Mann, is a long-run change in collective behavior that is neither random nor cyclical, but is persistently, sequentially, and cumulatively directional. For example, non-institutionalized activity in which several to many people voluntarily engage. Multilinear evolutionary theory identifies different trajectories of development for different human groups and activities. Evolution is limited to places, periods, and power sources, in which various paths of indigenous development, aided by diffusion of practices between societies, dominate the historical and prehistorical record. According to Lenski, change in society can occur in various ways, and it does not achieve the same end. Evolution is made possible by ecological pressures and human technological invention. Lenski claims that members of a society are united by a shared culture, although cultural patterns become more diverse as society gains more complex technology and information. The more information and knowledge a given society has, especially where it allows humans to shape their environment, the more advanced it is. It distinguishes four stages of human development based on advances in the history of communication. In the first stage, information is passed by genes. In the second stage, with the development of agriculture, humans are able to pass information through individual experience. In the third, humans begin to use sign and develop logic. In the fourth, they create symbols and develop language and writing. Lenski classifies human societies into types based on their technological progress. Hunting and gathering societies have strongest dependence on environment. This group were around kinship and tribe. They solely dependent to their surrounding for survival, hunting animals and foraging uncultivated plants for food. They are very common until several hundred years ago. Multicultural societies formed in areas where rainfall and other conditions allowed them to grow staple crops. They were similar to hunter-gatherers in that they largely depend on the environment for the survival. But since they didn't have to abandon their location to follow resources, they were able to start permanent settlements. Agrarian or agricultural societies relied on permanent tools for survival. Farmers learned to rotate the types of crops grown, their feeds, and to reuse waste products such as fertilizer, which led to better harvests and bigger surpluses of food. In industrial, there is dramatic rise in technological invention, ushering in an era known as industrial revolution. What made this period remarkable was the number of new inventions that influenced people's daily lives. There are four types of societies in terms of evolutionary levels, where the movement from simple to compound societies were seen. Spencer defined the simple society as one which forms a single working whole unsubjected to any other and of which the parts cooperate with or without regulating center for certain public ends. Basically, small nomadic and lacking a stable structure are the simple society. Compound societies were merging of two or more simple societies. They were either peaceful or violent merger, and they settled as agricultural societies. Doubly compound societies were completely settled. Custom has passed into law. Religious observances grow definite, rigid, and complex. Towns and roads become general, and progress in knowledge and art has taken place. Trebly compound societies includes the great civilized nations. There is increased overall size, complexity, division of labor, popular density, integration, and general cultural complexity. Spencer also point out the distinction in the four types of societies in terms of evolutionary level. He used four systems of dimension, which are the regulatory, operative, distributive, and demographic profile, to denote the internal growth and differentiation of the different stages of society, from simpler to more complex form.
However, just like any perspective in social and community studies, there were criticisms pointed on the evolutionary theory of sociology or evolutionary perspectives in social and community studies. In its closest concept, social change, it was argued that social evolution is unnecessary and only works as a box explanation of reality. According to literatures, evolutionary theory constructs a logical scheme of historical change that is different from real empirical history. Let's see more of its criticisms. First criticism of anti-evolutionists is related to evolutionary theory's bias towards Western social development, simply because of the glorification of a better social evolution tied in the traditional versus modern society dichotomy. Western-centric perspective of social and community development was overly emphasized. Evolution, furthermore, has not been contextualized with respect to scientific reconstruction of historical change of societies. Rather, it only legitimizes the modern capitalist society born of the West. Although, moderate critics put chances on cutting analytical connection between evolutionary theory and ethnocentrism. From the words of Giddens in 1984, he mentioned that evolutionary theories are highly prone to merge progression with progress because of ethnocentric assumptions, which, while probably not logically implied in evolutionism, are very difficult in practice to avoid. Second, societies are ordered in a developmental sequence, but should not. The theory of social evolution specifies different types of society and inserts them into a historical order that represents a developmental sequence from the perspective of a specific, predefined criterion. For critics, it does not show or reflect real historical processes, and that there is no such thing as a comprehensive social evolutionary process. Cohesion and unity of the developmental process, associating different levels or stages of social development, is not historically made but by classification. So, it rather inserts logic into history. Lastly, the analytically curated historical chronology of societal development is not reflective of real historical process of development. The third critic is that the concepts of evolutionary theory are universal and timeless. Critics such as Lisbeth in 1969 asks the question, is it possible to describe something that changes in time with concepts that are constant in time? Can finite and specific historical changes be explained using infinite, non-specific, non-historical concepts? Universal, timeless concepts cannot grasp a historically changing and unique reality. The inquiry of changes in communities and societies requires specific concepts that are also time-sensitive. Although Bowdon in 1983, as his moderate criticism pointed out, that evolutionary theory may be taken as constructs, ideal, general mental guides, like Parsons' action theory related to social order, and of Tony's Germain shaft and Jessel shaft. The last criticism would be on the social evolution that is based on adaptation. According to literatures, evolutionary theories do not answer questions about mechanism of social evolution. Giddens also added that social change and adaptation of societies to their environment is functional, not causal, and it does not explain causes of change. Also, adaptation is not motivational fact or for individuals whose actions result in social change. Giddens say, in explaining social change, no single and sovereign mechanism can be specified. There are no keys that will unlock mysteries of human social development, reducing them to a unitary formula, or that will account for the major transitions between social types in such a way either. At present, criticisms and reflections on the validity and importance or relevance of evolutionary theory is still underway. The neo-evolutionists still defending on its merits, while the anti-evolutionists are still keen on pushing for the criticism that they sought are valid in the discussion. To end, evolutionary theory has minimal application to human development. As claimed, social evolution must be distinguished from development. It is evident that men changed their societies, but the new social structures they developed and changed may, in turn, shape the men who live within the new social order. The human groups whose practices are best adapted to the changing social and natural environment are selected. That is, they survive better, and then other societies imitate or adopt their practices. In the long run, human beings have developed communities of greater complexity and power. And lastly, let us all look at the Statement of Man in 2016, which can better help generalize, which can help you have your take and reflection about this matter. All evolutionists, even Herbert Spencer, have accepted that some societies may be stagnant or may collapse or experience merely cyclical change, or that development may occur through sudden revolutions or historical incidents. I hope that you've learned a lot about our discussion on evolutionary perspectives in society and community analysis. Thank you for watching and see you in our next discussion.